Good morning, good morning, good morning, every African or Africans all over the world. I hope you are doing well. Good morning as well to our allies, all those people who empathize with us, who believe in our strength. Good morning. Last week, I spoke about our IQ, and I hope that was useful to you. But attached to this as well is the fact that is a very very central story in the history of colonization, which you will not find in a lot of books, which really is called the biggest cover up in modern history. And this is the story of King Leopold the second. I mentioned in my book how offended I was that when I Googled how many people did King Leopold kill, the answer I got was although King Leopold built the Belgian Empire, he also, as if that could be compared to the fact that he killed 10 to 15 million Africans. He killed 10 to 15 million Congolese people, mutilated them, you know, did atrocious things, did things that you can never even imagine. And yet, this history, it was not, accessible to us. I didn't do it myself at school. And of course, there's a reason most people believe the reason why this history was not revealed to us, just like Stalin, just like Mao Zedong, just like, Hitler, is because it was Africans who were killed. And of course, it looks like lives of Africans don't matter. And I go on pages where the Belgian people actually defend this. They say, oh, these people were killing each other anywhere before. But I mean, you have to lack humanity to a great extent to actually excuse somebody who killed, in 44 years, who killed 10 to 15 million people, mutilated them. I killed them in a way. I'll go into the story now in a minute. But I also believe that the reason is because King Leopold was the nephew of Queen Victoria, and in my part of the continent, um, we were colonized by the British, and I know that obviously he was covered up because he was related to the Queen, and also he was related to the French side. So obviously, um, and we most of what he did, or rather everything he did, was kept away from history. And a lot of people are starting to find out. And unfortunately, you will not find it in your books. You would have to go and look around for your history. And you might think, I don't want to look back at, history is history. No, history has a big impact on what is happening today. Because to this day, the Congo is, there are soldiers in there, your soldiers guarding. And without the Congo, there would be no cobalt. There would be no phones. So really, the Congo is a very central part of today's economy. So we should never, and to this day, still the Congolese people still don't have full control of their resources. So I'm going to talk about King Leopold II, who lived from 1865, who was born in 1835, and he from 1865 to 1809, that is when he was king. He died in 1809. But the Congo Free State, which is what he formed, was annexed in 1890, and the year before he died, because when they found out what he was doing. But anyway, let's go into this man, um in his father wanted felt the Belgian empire was at the time was a very young empire. It's 1830, that's when it was established. So his father, King Leopold I, really wanted to colonize, because at the time, how big you were or how great you were was just based on how many countries you're colonizing. And at the time, it was really Africa was where everybody was looking. So what happened was this first King Leopold the first died after trying 50 times. And of course, King Leopold II, when he took over, he really wanted the Congo. But a lot of people do not want to go to the Congo because of the fact that there were lions, it was this big jungle, and there was so many dangers there. But King Leopold II's heart was really in Congo. So he did a sort of a conference, where he called every international African association or something, and he called all reporters and geographers from all over the world. And he actually was trying to tell them that he wanted to go and colonize the Congo. He wanted to get into the Congo to get access to resources. And after that, a lot of people were not interested, obviously, because of the dangers that were in these jungles. But he found a man, Henry Morton Stanley. I'm sure if you've done history, if you are as old as me, you would have, you know, you know the phrase David Livingstone, I presume, is the man who found David Livingstone, where David Livingstone was trying to look for the source of the River Nile, and he was missing for 6 years. So they sent this man to look for him, Henry Morton Stanley, and this man found him. And he was really interested in Congo. And he was interested in Congo because he found that these people were quite remote as far as he was concerned. I will say that because I have reservations about that. But anyway, he found he had gone to the Congo. So when this conference was done, he obviously presented the case to uh, King Leopold II. And King Leopold, and after a few years, several years, he called Henry. He employed or commissioned Henry Martin Stanley to actually go and and do treaties with the chiefs. And Henry Morton Stanley was a man. When I read about it, I was, it's painful because at the time he told the African people that a white man is like a god, basically. And he used the binoculars, the way when you use the binoculars and you can, focus it on a paper or whatever, and he lit his cigarette, and it lit, and he told the Congolese natives that he was able to, hold the sun, and he brought the sun. He can, control the sun really, and he did a lot of things just to wow them, And he, of course, he had a gun, and he told them that a white man cannot die, and of course, you know, they found out later that in 19, when they went to the Second World War, that they can die because Africans also went to war and realized that these people do die. But anyway, for that moment, he told them they cannot die, and he took out the gunpowder from the gun, told one of the natives to shoot him, and of course he didn't die. And then they said, oh, the white man cannot die. So, and because when they went there, they realized that the Congolese people actually knew there was a God. And there's a letter, you should Google it, a letter written by Leopold II to the missionaries, where he talks about Congolese people know there's a God, they know adultery, they know, he actually, and he was telling them telling missionaries how to manipulate their minds, that, don't let them dream, don't let them, look at God as somebody who can do, make sure that you make them believe that the white man is above them. So there goes that's the religion that they brought. So he was called a philanthropist. This man, Leopold the second. Of course, we all found out later on that he was not. So he employed Henry Morton Stanley, who went there, and he went to do the trading posts and and build some roads and everything. So for 5 years he was there in the Congo, and he made treaties with these 450 chiefs, 400 or 450 chiefs, and made them sign uh, off their land, in a language they were all illiterate. So he actually doctored a lot of these treaties, and made them, and he took them back to Leopold. And of course, Leopold took over the Congo. So by the time that 1884, when the Berlin Conference happened, he told them that, he had already done the work, and when and he was a philanthropist. He wanted to help these people. So in 1884, 85, from 1884 to 85, the Berlin Conference, when they sat down, they actually gave, they sliced Africa into different parts, and everybody took scramble for Africa. Everybody took their own thing. But something happened which was remarkable. King Leopold was given the Congo as a personal property. It was his personal property. So he was like the proprietor. That's what he called himself. And he called it the Congo Free State. And of course, these people were not free. He literally owned those people. So while slavery had stopped, 1865 in America, 1833, at that time, 1888, I think, he actually had he actually had um, uh, uh, slaves, owned slaves. These people were enslaved. The people in the Congo Free State were slaves. And I'll tell you what used to happen for these 10 to 15 million to be killed. So first of all, he liked, ivory. Ivory was coming in, and they were, and he liked, it was jewelry and everything, so it was selling, but the ivory obviously ran out. It wasn't as, but then at the time, the automotives were, the Industrial Revolution, so there was a high demand for rubber, and rubber trees used to grow wild in the Congo. So now they had to harvest these companies, these rubber, trees, and each family had to harvest, and they had a certain amount which they were supposed to have it. And if they did not reach that quota, oh, this is really hard. If they did not reach that quota, their limbs were severed. Their limbs were cut. So, and sometimes they would take their wives, and they would make them stay in the thing and take their wives and put them in a camp somewhere. So when they put those wives there, they wouldn't get their wives back until they made up the quota. So it was slavery. It really was. And it's terrible because it went on for a long time. And nobody, I'm sure people heard, but obviously nothing was done about it. And I think there was a reporter, for it to end, there was a reporter, I think, from somebody, Neural, I think. he came and he saw this and reported it and took pictures of maimed people. And, there's a terrible picture of a man looking at his baby's remains because his baby was cut up because it did not meet the quota. These are the people that said they brought Christianity to our land. We have got to go to the bottom of this and realize that it was not Christianity, and what we got was something demonic. It perhaps has a lot to do with the fact that we pray to their God and nothing happens. We need to get to the bottom of why this is happening. Because really, when this was exposed in 1908, the Congo Free State was annexed and became the Belgian Congo. But he then died in 1909. This evil man. But this disturbing thing is that there are statues of King Leopold all over the world, and mostly in Belgium. And they still defend this. This is what we call the high IQ people. This is what, even at that time, I did say to you in 1839, that's when Henry Morton Stanley wrote the Crania Americana. He wrote that to say the black African is right at the bottom. He is the least intelligent person. But the most intelligent people were killing, were maiming, were raping. Is this the way that we want to look at ourselves as unintelligent when we were the ones who were oppressed, when we were the ones who were raped, maimed, so many atrocities? You can, a lot of them, mind you, were swept under the carpet. We probably never know about them. And the story goes, of course, that when King Leopold, when the Congo was taken away from him, he said, they can take away my Congo, but they will never find my records. And he burned his records for 8 days, apparently, continuously. Those records were burning. So what we know now is only a fragment of what happened. All those records were burned. But still, you will find Black people submitting to those authorities. In fact, in my country, one of the people who fought for independence was called Leopold II, a very great man. But obviously, at that time, maybe they didn't know anything. But I just wanted to, sidetrack and really talk, because there's only one sentence I talk about King Leopold, just to complain about the fact that Google puts it, when I Googled how many people did King Leopold kill, Google told me that even though he built the Belgian Empire, okay, he also killed this and that. Can you see how that trivializes the way they put it? They had to put that. The question I had asked was, how many people did he kill? It doesn't just say that. They obviously want to balance. So even when we look at Google, we really have to. When I'm Googling, when I'm researching things, I don't really go on the first things that I see that come up. I always go down the line, and usually the most truthful information is right at the end because of the insignificance at the moment of the African life. And we are the ones who have to stand up and believe in ourselves. I think if there's people who are raising children in Belgium, these children need to be well aware of the history. And if you're aware of your history, you will not repeat it. So we need to just, and today I really wanted to talk about that. So when that was addressed, by the way, just to wrap up, he when he died, of course his nephew took over, but still that history stayed, hidden. And you need to remember that all these people who did atrocities in Africa, they used the money to build their countries. So to this day, there's houses, there's homes, there's communities that were built by Leopold. So they will never discredit him because they know they owe him what is in there. Meanwhile, the Congo is still struggling to even own. And there has to be reparation for this. But then, if we don't get reparation, at least let's stand up. At least let's know our history and know that what was done in our land should never be done again. Because when we keep submitting to the same, devils, we will never win. When we keep praying to the same God they introduced to us, we will never win. The letter that he wrote to the missionaries shows that he knew that African people knew there was a God, but he wanted, please go and Google it, and you'll find a letter which he wrote to the missionaries, King Leopold II. And you will know that if you have a Christianity that you got from there, that you think your headquarters is in Belgium, your headquarters you got to think again. You got to think again because that's where your oppression comes from. That's where your oppression. Show me the source or the root of who you worship. When you look at the life of Jesus and look at the life of Christ, we see empathy, we see compassion, we see love, we see him even saving a woman who was going to be stoned, who had committed adultery. We see him walking to a Samaritan woman who had been rejected by the community. So how do we believe that all those churches that we are proud of and we wear uniforms that stemmed from there, how do we believe that they are real? They are not of Christ. So we have to wake up. We have to wake up. My next book is really about contrasting that Christianity. And I go into exactly how we have to move away from it. This is what I believe God has put in my heart. So thank you so much. I hope today when you look at the Congo, you will look at it in a different light. And you will look at the Congolese people with compassion and pray for them. And if you are Congolese, please go and find out about King Leopold II and know who you are. Thank you so much. Again, my book, Thank You, Mrs.G, okay, is what we have been discussing. And it is on the Amazon website and the Author House website. And my website is up and running. And if you want one done for you, it's a beautiful website. You're going to just inbox me. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a good week.